Thinking of heading off to a warmer climate this winter, there are many options to choose from for a warm weather getaway. This morning, we're getting advice on making the best vacation choice for you and tips to make sure your trip goes smoothly, because that's what you want for sure. Gary Howard of CAA Atlantic joins us this morning for On the Move. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming in.
Winter's finally here.
Winter is here, exactly.
We knew it was coming.
I mean, maybe some of us haven't felt the full brunt of it yet, although others have, and I'm sure a lot of people make those plans to go down south, right?
Yeah,
but there's
absolutely.
things you should think of before you go.
Yes.
When you start planning.
Yeah, and the planning part. You know,
Yeah.
so you start to think about what you want to do, set a budget, don't be over budget, but also don't be under budget.
Okay.
You know, sometimes you go a little bit on the skinny and
then maybe you regret it.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So be reasonable.
So it sounds like deciding what you want is a good
That's
place
it,
to
exactly.
start.
Yep.
Okay.
So
how do you do
there's
that?
lots of different options.
Yeah.
So you can go to all-inclusives,
Okay.
which are throughout the Caribbean, Mexico, and so on. So, and typically the name all-inclusive is exactly what it sounds like. Includes your air, transfers, meals, drinks, and so on. So, but again, you need to understand what you're getting and what you're not. If it's all drinks, is it El Presidente in a little cup?
Oh,
or
okay.
is it regular types of drinks?
Okay.
How many dining options do you have? And most importantly, what kind of a room you're getting? Because it might sound like, well, what a great deal, but then you find out, ooh, it's a parking lot view.
Right,
So,
okay.
you know, sometimes they call it a garden view, but, you know, a rose by any other name, it's still a parking lot.
That's because there's a little mound of trees in the middle of the parking lot,
That's
right?
right,
So there's a lot of
exactly.
questions you should ask about an all-inclusive then before you go.
Absolutely.
And those are some of them. What are some other key questions for the all-inclusive choice?
Well, you know, don't just necessarily go with, you know, what a friend may have told you. You know, it has to suit your needs, you know.
Right.
So, and like a star rating, for example, it might say it's a 4-star. Well, a 4-star in the Caribbean or say the DR is not necessarily a 4-star here.
Oh, okay.
Right. So there is some variance
Different
right
standards.
across right across the Caribbean.
Okay, so maybe if you've decided an all-inclusive isn't for you, you could also make another choice of going on a cruise.
I love cruising.
Yeah,
It's one of my
okay.
favorite ways to travel. You know, the great thing is, you know, you get into your stateroom, get unpacked, and then you're done for the whole
Done,
vacation.
yeah.
And you see a bunch of different countries, you know, so you're stopping in different ports, you get off, you explore, you don't have to pack and unpack. On board, there's lots to do. It's not the old days of shuffleboard. There's dining, lots of dining options. Shows, ice rink, you know,
Movie theater.
pools.
Yeah. You
all
name
kinds
it.
of great
What
things.
are some questions to ask about a cruise, though, so that you know what you're getting ahead of time?
And you know, again, money will tell you what level of cruise you're getting. So don't pick the cheapest option if that's not what you're looking for. So try and suit it to what you like. You know, so what kind of a hotel you like can determine what kind of a cruise line you want to take.
Okay.
One of my biggest tips is get a balcony. It's not that much more expensive, and it makes a huge difference. It makes your stateroom feel bigger, and you've got the balcony there.
Yeah, exactly. You eat breakfast in the morning or something.
Yeah.
You can overlook the ocean. That's really nice. Let's talk about guided tours. That's another option. So I guess when I think guided tour, I think of like, you know, all the folks on the bus.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
over 80.
And, you know, you can still get those.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're adapting to the marketplace as well. So they have very specialized tours. They have small bus tours where it might be just 20 people on a coach. And some are extended stays in each city. So in some cases, you can get into a city like Rome and you can do everything that they're doing, or you can just go off on your own for a while.
Okay, so there's an
catch up
option.
later.
So that's a question, I guess, to ask as to whether or not that option exists. What else should you ask about a guided tour before you go?
You know, where you're going, obviously.
Okay.
And, you know, in, say, Rome, to get into the Colosseum, the lineups are crazy long. But with a coach tour, you basically go to the back or the front of the line. Because these companies are bringing in thousands of guests every year, right? So they get some pretty privileged access.
That's
so you're not
interesting.
spending the whole day
waiting in line
and waiting.
just for a couple minutes, and then you have to go, basically. And again, set a budget, I guess, know what you're getting
different
ahead
levels
of time.
of experience.
Yeah. Now, what if someone wants to just travel on their own? What would you recommend there?
Absolutely. And I mean, depending on your destination, you know, you might want to ensure that if you're going to, say, Italy, driving is crazy there. So be prepared. Or Ireland is a whole different experience, as an example. You know, so you're driving the back roads and, you know, visiting all the pubs and all those kinds of things. So, yeah, just understand what the driving habits are going to be like. And you know how well you might know the area as well.
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
So, now, Europe as an example, or even the U.S., hotel rates can be a little bit high, especially depending on season. So you're paying basically the on-the-street pricing. With an all-inclusive, they're doing the buying for you.
Kind of getting a deal.
You're definitely getting a deal because they're buying, again, thousands of hotel rooms. So everything just all comes together much better for you.
Yeah, so lots of questions and research to ask. I know folks at CAA Atlantic do that research for you a lot of the times if you consult, so that's always a good place to start as well, because sometimes it can feel a little overwhelming with all these options.
Oh, there's so many choices.
You guys can help narrow it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it.
It's good to see you.
On a next episode of On the Move, when Gary Howard joins us, we'll be talking about things you need to get together before you go on your trip. Remember all those documents and whatnot?
Yeah, that important stuff. And if you're planning to go, get your passport now. Don't wait for a week before.
Last minute is not good.
Busy time.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
And happy travels to anyone who is planning to head down south. 7:49 is the time right now. We're back in 2.